Okay, here we go. We had such a good time while we were prepping, and so we're gonna jump right in. This is the fourth and final episode in our limited series. We said it was limited from the beginning. Midlife Dating Chronicles. First episode, we talked. Just do a recap. We talked about are we even ready to date? Are we healed and whole? Um, because if we not healed and whole, we understand nobody's perfect, but at the place where we're healed and whole enough to even start dating. Then the second episode, we talked about truth and lies versus profiles and perspective. Um, what people put out there on what we put out there on our profiles, what it is that we say that we want, as opposed to talking about all the stuff we don't want. Talk about what we enjoy doing, recent pictures, ding ding ding, recent pictures, not back from high school or anything like that, and telling the truth about everything from height, what we're interested in and what we enjoy doing. Then the third episode, which was last week, we talked about dates, data collection, and deal breakers, and needing to know our deal breakers before we even go out on the dates. So while we're collecting the data, and we ended talking about going on trips, because the first episode we were saying Chris talked about we have to see a relationship through all seasons. And we talked about going on trips, going on vacation with somebody, and Shawnee, you were saying that's now part of the process, part of the data
I think
collection.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so because it just you really see somebody navigate outside of like when because when you're on vacation you're in another environment, right? So there's different things. So right before we went live I was about to share the story about going to so my ex was a diehard Cowboys fan but had never been to Texas. So that year they just happened to play the Washington, right? He had never been on a plane, right? The whole entire trip, while it was good points and bad points, there were so many red flags. like I just literally ignored. I don't know, oblivion, I guess, right? Like I like looking back on it, like that there was a sign. There
Mm,
was a sign there. I mean, very small, subtle things, nothing glaring, but it was just like, huh. So yeah, I would go on vacation with someone that I'm not exclusive with, but that is showing signs of potential.
Mhm.
and Chris, you were talking about family trip versus solo trip versus.
Well, I mean, that's what you understand who you're dealing with, right? So, I mean, you know, to me, vacation is sacred, right? So it's your time to relax, refresh, unwind without, hopefully any drama. And, you know, when you're raising a family, there's kind of a difference between, I'm not going to take my kids to Cancun, you know, but, we do a family trip and then vacation. Me and the ex will go on vacation, right? So it's, you want someone that you can go on vacation with and just relax. You don't want your partner to be a family trip. So,
Okay.
you know,
And so at what point do you start do you start traveling together? Is it short trips? Is it something, you know, uh short to begin with and see how you do?
I mean,
Uh,
I would say depends on the person, right? I mean, if y'all both passport people and it's like, this, hey, I found a cheap flight to Paris. You want to roll? And they like, yep. You know, test it out, right? I mean, it's. I mean, I think it's more of a discussion of how are we paying for this, right?
mm,
Versus, because if I'm paying for the whole trip, then there's a lot of different expectations versus, you paying for yours, I'm paying for mine. So,
Yeah,
Oh,
and I think you have to say that up front. That needs to be a conversation,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
Like, and I would be very okay with, look, I'll cover airfare, you cover hotel, right?
Hmm.
But you have to say that up front,
Yeah.
or 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 and we'll split meals or something like that. Like, be very
Mhm.
adult about it. We
Yeah.
both grown. Well, people got to eat,
Yes.
right,
right?
right. Whereas you do that with your girlfriends, right?
Yes,
When the girls
right.
go on a trip, we talk about who's doing what or whatever. So, right, it
Yeah,
shouldn't be any different.
and I'm at a particular age that I'm not rooming with people.
Mm-mm.
I'm not.
Mm-mm.
I'm not bunking. We not in college.
No.
Give me my own room.
No.
I'm not.
I'm only
I have worked very hard.
I'm only sharing a room with the opposite sex.
Yeah,
So
I have worked very hard.
yes.
I am going to, reap the benefits of my hard labor.
Yes.
I don't need, and that's another reason why I don't go on trips with certain people. Like, because if you need me to go on the trip with you, then I might have to do south.
Hmm.
Well, what does that mean? Explain it for the people on the back row. If you if you need if you
Like,
need,
if you can only go if we split the room,
hmm
right? We're not talking about like a mission trip. Like, this a bit like,
Hmm.
talk about your vacation.
Yeah.
okay, but now how about this now? How about if somebody is not in the same financial position, but they're willing to go, right? So we've opened ourselves up to meet um our person, right? And our person may not have the bank account may not be the same. The income and resources may not be the same. Does that mean then that you can't travel?
Are we
You
still talking about
you may
dating?
I'm talking
Dating,
about dating. Yeah.
dating. So,
yeah.
Mhm.
your scenario is, if Chris is dating a woman that does not have, that is willing to go but can't afford her
Correct.
full way. That's a Chris question.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give that to you.
Yeah. I mean, I I I guess it's a question of how well you are feeling
How
the
well
person,
you like
right?
them?
So my thing is, it's either, do we look at a different location, or, what I'm saying? So it's, no, I'm being real with it, right? So I mean, money comes and go. Don't get me wrong, right? But at the same time, you don't want to start off and be like, I'm going to take care of everything. So then the expectation is we gonna do
Mm,
this. He got it, right? So I mean, it's a partnership, right? If you get in a relationship and it's not about who makes more money, right? But it's, you can make $50,000 a year, but how you spend your money, you may be able to flex and be able to do some things, right? But if you making $50,000 a year and you flexing where you live in paycheck to paycheck, then it's like you don't want to go on vacation because your priorities is other stuff, right? And so, if you put your priority, be like, look, I wanted to go, I was putting away for this trip and blah, 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 blah. I'm a little short because life be life, and sometimes, that's an understandable conversation. But if every single time is an excuse of why you're short, then it's more telling of, what are you really getting, right?
mm.
So,
I
That's
agree.
interesting.
I think it also goes to the point of planning, right?
mhm,
And setting goals and intentions,
yeah.
right? And I'm not saying what I'm about to say. I'm not saying this to toot my own horn or what have you, but I've always been the breadwinner in my relationships.
Mm,
But having said that, it's about, but there's been levels of what the person could and could not do was based on planning ahead, like forecasting. Okay, I know this is how much I make. So, no, Shawnee, we can't go to Greece, but we could go somewhere else. And I need a plan. Can you give me
Mhm.
5 months? Can you give me 6 months? I'm all for that. I like effort, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I would rock with that. I would rock with somebody that's gonna tell me, I was dating someone that I thought was gonna go further than what it did, and w- we got to a point where it was just, and we took little mini trips, but it was never, it was so organic and natural that you know he lived in a different town. So if I went to his city, he covered everything. If he came to my city, he covered everything, but sometimes I would too. But I didn't, but I did offer a couple times and he's like, "No, I got it." But um a- and that was refreshing because I think because I never had that. I never had someone that would at least meet me 50 50, was it 50-50? I think a lot of times, but it was just, it would, I think you just got to be a planner. I think if you plan
Mhm.
accordingly, you can make things work, whether you have a bigger bag than the other person or
Mhm.
not. Because it's also about, it shows people's giving nature and how selfish they are.
Mm.
Mhm.
If they are, if no, if they're never offering, mm-mm.
It's telling. I mean, it.
It's very telling.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it shows a person's character. So,
Yes.
if it's the expectation is that, oh, you make more money than
Yeah.
you do this, you know, it's telling of what is to come, right?
Right.
So,
So, okay. So this money thing is a little sensitive. So does that mean that you don't date someone that may make the same as you or be in the
it's it's
same
it's
No.
it's not about who makes more, right?
Right.
But it's about what is a priority, right? So, you know, you can have someone who makes $50,000 a year who you like. What kind of side hustle they doing? Because they always
they
doing
always
that and
yeah.
the other, right? No, they just their priorities is I'm doing this, this, and that. Other people, it's just like think about it. Hate the old stereotype, but just like when the stimmy check dropped, right? They dropped a pair of Jordans. People was wrapped around the mall, right? So it's a priority, Beyonce tickets and a pair of Jordans,
Mm.
So people quick have $1,000 buy a Beyonce ticket, but you can't
Take
you
a
can't
vacation or
6 months in advance. So
right.
what is your priority, right? If your priority is, you know, I'm going to Beyonce, that just shows, right? That's your priority, right? So you can some people can only do 1-2 trips a year. And so if you drop in a bag on Beyonce, then you
There
probably
goes two
could go
trips.
on vacation. So maybe
Right.
next year is a vacation, right? It's just, are you willing to have that conversation of, I can't go on vacation this year because I'm doing I'm going here. So
Okay.
it's, what conversation are you having? You can't. A lot of people want to both. They want Beyonce trip, and I really want to go on that vacation.
Right. Right. Hmm. Okay, so you go on the trip, you figure out the resources.
Right?
Look, you figure out who's paying and who's fighting. Okay, so what's funny? What am I missing? What am I missing?
Well, your it's like you were pondering something. Look,
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear because I don't want to um I got labeled a gold digger last week, and I don't think that I was just trying to give the gentleman an out. Now, we had not been on a first date, and he added me to a group chat for looking for gas money. I
What?
kindly, yeah, it was 10 people on the group chat. I kindly, Shawnee left the conversation because he wasn't talking to me. Like, and then a couple days later, sends me a video of a houseboat, right? Like this, like you can rent this houseboat. You can hire the chef on the boat or bring your own food and cook your own. It was like romantic, 15 romantic things that you can do in Baltimore, right? It was like a whole advertisement.
Mm.
And he's like, I wanted to get your input and find out if you want me to hire a chef or we could cook our own food. Now,
You don't have gas
I'm a
money.
realist. I'm a realist. So I'm like, you don't have to impress me. Like, we didn't even have coffee yet, sir. I was trying to, like, let's, I said, this is a great, like, 10th date, but we need to have coffee. And he's like, so he got a attitude. When I tell you attitude, y'all, attitude, and
So where did the
said,
gold digging part come in?
well, the gold digging part came in when I said something about I was like, I would be okay with coffee. And so then he said, well, I was going on the houseboat regardless. I was just bringing you along. And I'm like, but you needed gas money 4 days ago. I'm just confused.
Or maybe he forgot that he put you in the group chat.
Perhaps maybe let's go with that. We could go with that. And then he went on this rant and he said, I deleted the text message. I should have kept him for the show. But he said something about, because I don't need gold diggers, because I had mentioned that, my birthday was at the end of September and
Mhm.
I celebrated very well.
Yes.
And and he had asked me where was my brunch, and I mentioned the restaurant that I went to, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's too much for my blood."
But you talking about renting a yacht?
What you talking about? Renting a yacht and a chef?
With a chef, with a chef. Let's be clear on that. Like, how much does the chef cost? I mean, I've never experienced this. Let's be clear. It would have been an amazing date with the right person, but not him.
Mm. Mm.
Not in this lifetime.
Mm.
And you had never even gone on a date with this person. So
No,
he's
we didn't
sending.
even have lunch. We didn't even have pancakes. We didn't have a latte. We didn't even no.
Mm.
See, this is how folks are out here flexing and misrepresenting and all. It's this
Mm.
that's hot messness right there.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But
So
but that's what if you think back to Shawnee's what is dating like, right? I mean, that's the swamp that you're going to wade through, right? Because I
Yes.
mean, it's I mean, I don't want to be cast or too bad, but I mean, that's just stupid, right?
Yes.
I mean, you ain't even truly met someone and gone out, and you talking about, I'm renting a yacht with a personal chef, right? But you can't even fill up your gas tank. So it goes back to some, conversation we were having, Beyonce tickets versus a vacation, right? What is your priority, right? So if you struggling to the point that you start a group chat for gas money, even if you do have a couple chippers to rent a yacht, it don't seem like you're planning very well. That you're not budgeting enough, because if you didn't budget gas money, you shouldn't be trying to do a yacht party.
But
I
I
think
feel
it's
like that
very
goes
important.
back. I'm sorry. I feel like that goes back to being even healed and whole and ready to date. Because
I
if
don't know if that's healed
because
whole, or that's
you
just.
have no
I mean,
business
That's
on
that's
just
the
common sense,
that's
Dr.
basic
Lisa.
economics. I
you don't
mean,
have no
Yeah.
business dating if you don't have gas money, if you can't take somebody out and even meet for coffee or something like that. You have no business dating.
yes,
Well, I
but
don't
that's different between heal and whole, because they're
Okay.
just broke people out there who are dating, but it's
But
what
I think of
what
whole as
circle are you in?
comprehensive. I always think of whole as comprehensive, right? Mental health, financial health,
Yeah,
emotional.
but you have to have a sense of financial wealth to even recover, to say you're healing in that sense, right? You
Uh,
have
I
to have a sense of what is a budget, what can it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter what you make, right? But do you have
right.
the sense of financial aptitude to say, I make this, I want to do this, how can I do these things, right? It's what is your priority? And if gas money ain't a priority, but a yacht date is, right?
I think it's also important to be to have when it comes, especially finances, to have similar mindsets, right? Or and if you don't have the similar mindset, like be in a position where you're willing, if that other person is going to give you some tips on how to be a better steward of your money, that be open to that, right?
mm,
Because I think that's important too, right? Like I I don't want to be out here with someone that is always spending, 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 and never like is never talking about saving for the future or
mm,
or doing anything. That's why I like strategic planning is important to me, right? Because I've been in positions where there was no plan. And
mm,
then when stuff hit the fan, people looking at me for what how are we gonna get out of this?
mm,
Right. So I would much rather have someone that is like, very just like, you know, like I have a couple friend who very different in terms of how they approach money. But my girlfriend she always gets mad because her husband will say he doesn't have any money, right? And then when a rainy day come, he got he got all this money. He said, I didn't have money for that.
mm.
Right? But he's always
Priorities,
getting them out of,
priorities.
yeah, he's getting them out of, he said, no, I ain't have money for us to go for you to spend $500 on a kid birthday. But when the boiler broke, they didn't have to
Priorities.
finance that. They didn't have to go
Right?
in on the credit card. I'm like, and you want
Yeah.
somebody with because that is showing leadership and protection
Mm,
and all the things that make a good partner.
yes.
I was like, don't sleep
But
on that.
you know,
Let him stack his coin.
yeah. But Johnny, it is funny you just said that, right? Because you made a comment last week about I think a date that you were going on, and you were like, see what kind of leader he's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with a friend not too long ago, so I've been thinking about this almost for a week now, right? So, what is your submission like, right? So, you know,
Oh,
it's
I'm gonna
always
turn my camera off. I'm gonna turn my camera off. I'm like, no.
you know what I'm saying. So, so the question is, it's like, I, I need a man to lead. I want a leader. I want a leader. I want a leader. But like I asked my friend, and I'm still waiting on the answer, right? I'm like, what is your submission like? right?
Mhm.
And so it becomes a question of, you know, you lay out the expectation of I want to see what kind of leadership he has. I want to see, where we're going. But what is your submission to his leadership, right? Are you
Mhm.
willing to submit to, right? You don't have to agree with it, but are you willing to fall in behind it, right? Because that's how you get that cover. But are you willing to submit?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I don't even know what to say behind that. Because but that goes into being the yin and the yang for each other, right?
Yes.
Somebody may be a saver and somebody more of a spender, but when we recognize people's strengths and weaknesses in one another and we work together for for the common goal. But that's but yeah, are we willing to submit? Absolutely. 500%. Willing to submit, will submit, capable of submitting, but let's
There's
again
always
look
that
at it.
but. See, there's always that but, right?
Listen, and you hear me stuttering, right? And you hear me stuttering. But
Yeah.
the whole thing is submitting to each other. It
You
is the submission to
you're
each other
you're
though.
right, but the thing is, it's like, I'm waiting to see where he's leading, right? But what if he's waiting to see how you're submitting?
Lord have mercy. So then
I,
that gets into go ahead,
I,
Shawnee.
I heard. I was just gonna say, I heard on one of those male bro podcasts, but I will take this because some stuff I
Mhm.
is word vomit. But the gentleman said, if you want that leadership role as men, right?
Mhm.
Include your partner in the decision making,
Yes, 100%.
right? Ask questions. What do you want? Like, how do you want this to go? Da, 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 da. So then, because the more questions you ask of that man is asking the woman, the less questions that woman has for the man, right? Because I think a lot of times when men are being asked questions, they feel like that person is not submitting to them, but
Mm.
they just want to know where we going. Like, I need to know where we're going. Well,
I mean, I agree with you, right? It just like a good pastor, right?
yeah,
If they don't cast a good vision, right, the flock is going to go somewhere else.
yeah,
Right?
I need to know where we
So,
going.
so yes, you have to be able to cast that vision, and here's where we're going, right? And garner that input of, you have to know what your partner, you know, what their likes, dislikes, their fears, their concerns, everything else. You have to take all that into account and cast that vision, right? So if you don't know and you're not ready to be a leader, right? It kind of shows, right? Because if you get asked a question and you're like, or get pissed off, right? You're not ready for that role because you're going to be questioned. But it's how do you respond to that question, right? And so when you cast that vision out for your partner, right? There, even if they still have questions, right? As long as you can answer those questions or answer those concerns or have a response to that, right? They're going to come up under you. But when you don't, that's when they're just going to be like, he's not my leader.
So what does it look like, Chris, what is something that we as women should be looking for? What does it look like when a man is casting vision? So we know what it looks like.
I mean, it just really all depends on your relationship and where you guys are going, right? It's
So for you, so let's use you. I'm just asking for the
Mhm.
women that are listening because that you raise a good point. So what does casting vision what is a way that potentially that casting vision could look like
I mean,
for a guy?
you know, where we're at today, where we're going tomorrow, how we're going to get there, right? So it's, are you talking about, you know, we're all older, midlife, right? You know, what are we doing for our next, right? Because I don't know about y'all, but I want to work forever. So it's, how are we planning? What are we doing for the next? How are we planning for, you know, our next 20 years of enjoyment with not having to clock in and living life to the fullest? And, so it's, how are you building that? How are you shaping that? How are you creating that vision and building to it, you know? So, but you have to have a plan. You have to, it's, I have to want to have that next chapter and then be able to talk to my partner about it and be like, here's where I want to go. What about you? You know? So, you have to, at least, put it out there. And
Can,
then
can
have,
we ask the question? Like, so can we? Is it
I think you should always ask questions, right? To me, there's never a dumb question, right? You know, and if you get offended by your partner's question, you in trouble already.
what do you think, Shawnee?
I agree. Like, um, you know, I I just want to have a a game plan. I don't need to know how we gonna get somewhere. I just need to know where the destination, where we going. You
Mhm.
tell me where we're going, because I know I've always, one of the things that I've always been told is that, man, you a big cheerleader, you will believe in the dream, and I will, right? But I can't believe in the dream more than you if it's your dream. I support, but I am a dream supporter, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, you want to be an actor? You want to be a comedian? You want, what do we? Let's go,
But
right?
same thing I tell my kids. I want the world for you, but I can't want more for you than you want for yourself. So,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. So if you're not putting in the work, I
Mhm.
can't I can't make my work ethic. I know my work ethic rivals most people,
Mhm.
right? I know this, right? So you don't get mad at me when you see me. I Because just because I said that I'm going to support your dream, I have dreams too.
Yeah. But that's a whole that's a whole nother tangent we can go
It
down
It
of.
is. It is. But going back to your question, Dr. Lisa, about, well, what does that look like? I think in different stages of the relationship, it can look different. Like,
Mhm.
but I'll have, I already said my expectations were so low, right? So if I so early the early
I hope
stages,
I hope after these episodes you have raised your expectations.
the bar is a little higher. It's a little higher. But I don't know. I'm just out here having fun right now. But
Yeah.
I will say this.
Mhm.
I In my last relationship early on, I said, don't ask me where we gonna eat. Because if you ask me, we never eat. Right? I was like, I said I can tell you what I don't like before I tell you what I do like. That
Mhm.
is just my personality. It's always been that. It's not gonna change, right? To me, that was the love language that I needed. When I look back, it was like a year and a half in. I said every date night, I have to stress out picking a restaurant. The food
Mhm.
just appeared.
I mean,
That's like,
but that's learning your partner though, right? So
yes,
it's,
right? I went on a lunch date last week with someone. We in the food court. He tells me, to pick the restaurant, I panicked. It's too many choices. I look like a fool. He ain't never called me back. I'm okay. I am so okay with it. But he sent me out to the wolves. I said I can't pick. Please pick. This man had an hour to eat. We didn't eat till the 15 minutes. Couldn't decide. It was too many. I wanted to eat all of it.
But you were clear
I
that
was
please don't
clear.
make me choose. So you
And I
choose
don't know.
something.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he said, no, you gotta pick. And I'm like, why? You're doing too much. This is over consenting. And I was okay. I was like, you know what? He'll never call me back, and I'm fine with that. Because I like had a meltdown in the food court.
But how insensitive is that you shared with him that this was, this was a challenge area. So that's like, yeah.
But I
Right.
mean,
And so
but that's the
and
whole thing. It's every, like I said last week, right? Every interaction is a data collection point, right? So,
yes. So
you
I
know,
learned something about him
True.
that
mhm,
I deemed as a red flag, and he learned something about me. Maybe
mhm,
he needs someone to make a decision. Maybe
yeah,
he's not a good decision maker. I don't know.
yeah,
But here's the thing, y'all. I might can't pick where I want to eat, but when there's a problem, and like one of the things that I am also good at is I don't whenever there's a problem, it's a situation. I remember my best friend, my best friend's daughter was getting married. My best friend has been at every life changing event. When my daughter passed away, when my mom passed away, made
mhm,
it her business to be there for me. I was not going to miss this wedding, right?
mhm,
Um he was the driver. I can't remember what happened with his car and something came up. And then, like, all of a sudden, the plan changed in the middle of it. He wants to start talking about what happened. And I am already trying to go into solution mode. Right.
mhm,
And so it's not, I don't want to rehash the why. I need to get to New York, and I need to get to New York by 1 o'clock tomorrow.
mhm,
Right? It's all about
yeah,
resolving the issue. We can talk about what happened after the fact, right?
mhm.
A lot of people will look at me in crisis mode and say, you don't care about people feelings and stuff. No, it's not that. I I just would rather resolve the problem
I mean,
instead of
sometimes you have to focus on what is the most important thing now, right? Not
yes.
saying that that's not important, but right now, right, we were headed here for a reason, right? That car broke. That car's still gonna be broke. We can go here, come back, the car's still gonna be broke. Okay, cool, right? Now his priority might be he need to get that car fixed, and that's fine. Let him worry about getting his car fixed while you worry about where you was headed, right?
Yeah.
You can do two things at the same time, and
Yes.
not saying that I don't care that your car broke down. That's your only mode of transportation. You were taking me, and something happened. I look, you know, you want to take
Yeah.
the tow truck. I'll pay for the tow truck as I'm booking this flight. But
Right.
you know, I,
Right.
so but you can do both.
Yes.
Lisa, you look shocked over there today.
I know. Why you speechless? Why we got you speechless?
You all here got me speechless. so we're still doing you so everybody still see how all of the episodes tied together. During
Hmm.
the whole process is data collection. We're
Yeah.
processing, making a determination of, okay, am I going to see this person again? Are we going to do I see a future with this individual? Am I going to invest any more, aside from the money? right?
Mm,
Am I going to invest any more time?
Right.
Because at this stage of life, we're talking about midlife dating chronicles. We're not 20. We
yeah.
not in our 30s where we got time to bounce back from poor choice, right? We're at the stage of the life where we're going into the next chapter. How we want to ride off in the sunset.
I mean, at our point, we should be looking at the consequences up front and then weighing that choice and then making that decision, right? Because
Yeah.
we've all been down that road of, right? So, you know, what is the
We
consequence if I do this, right? Then it's a lot easier to weigh them choices, you know, and then,
Well, and a good thing that you said is like asking the question, what's next for us? Right?
mhm,
We're not going to be working forever. Where do we see our life? How do we see the next chapter? Because the decisions and choices we make today
mhm,
impact
mhm.
how we live our next chapter.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
decisions today impact. Hell, will we even be able to go on vacation? We talking about taking trips and stuff. If we don't make the right choices today, and we end up potentially, if we're not with the right person for us for the next phase,
Mhm,
vacations might be off the menu. And then let's be honest, real talk. What about health challenges? Because we're not getting any younger.
mhm,
So who is it that we can be with, that'll be with us through all the phases of the next phase,
Yeah.
right? Because we can be a cougar, Shawnee and I can be a cougar and get somebody, 30 something or, whatever. But if we need some help with something, will he still be there? Be like, yeah, no, I'm going out here and get somebody that I don't have to help like this.
mhm.
Right.
I mean, but that's all a part of the conversation that you have to have today because it's, I mean, assuming that you're talking to someone in the general age range, right?
Hmm.
We all have those similar challenges that are we're all aging gracefully and
Or not.
or not.
Yeah.
Health
Hmm.
challenges are whatever it is you know stuff comes up, but
Right.
are so I mean, but that's a telltale sign too. It's like, are you going to the doctor? Because I would rather know that you have something, and here's the you know you know here's a perspective of you know whatever it is, right? Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, whatever, right? But you got someone who don't go to the doctor. I want to find out in the ER that you got a week to live. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Because you refuse to go to the doctor until you can't breathe. And
Right.
but
yeah.
tell sign of the of that person, right? Are you taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, okay, so I have a story for that. I did meet a person who was 50, and did not believe in going to the doctor.
Hmm.
Did not believe in going to the doctor. And so my question was, well, when is the last time that you went to a doctor? And this person was like in their teens. And I
No.
was like, Shawnee and
Mm-mm.
Chris, I was like,
Mm-mm.
okay, well, thank you so much for dinner, but this is a wrap.
Mm-mm.
And he was like, are you serious? I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, dude, you
Yeah.
have not been to the doctor in almost 40 years. How do
Yeah.
you know that
Hmm.
nothing is wrong with you? Well, I
That
just
part.
trust because I eat well and I do this and I do that and the other. I was like, and all I could think of, and I went back, all I could think of was, you might be crawling with disease. I might be getting the heebie jeebies just sitting here that and I was like, "No, doctor." He said, "No, I don't trust doctors. I don't believe in doctors." And I was
Mm-mm.
like, "What in the whole hell is this person?" this person about? And he honestly had a hard time processing that I did not want to see him again. I said, we could talk on the phone and be friends or whatever, but we're not going out. It's not going to be anything aside from that.
Mhm.
So that is very valid if
Yeah,
somebody doesn't look at health the
yeah.
same way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if
Absolutely.
you, I mean, there's a difference if you just playing around dating and there's, trying to build a relationship, right? It's, you have to put it all out there and it's part of the planning, right? So it's, different health challenges bring about, different planning things that you have to do. And so not knowing, right,
And
that
so when do you have the health conversation though?
I
When do
mean,
you
it depends on where you're going with your relationship, right? So, I mean, if you're building towards something, then I mean, you need to have. I mean, same with financial situations, right? You need to have those crucial conversations, right? When you feel like you're getting into a deeper relationship, you need to have those crucial conversations and
Yep.
put it all out there, right? And so it's always a question of, right, it's just a sense of baggage, right? We all carry baggage, right? It's when do you start unpacking those bags, and right, you know I think I said like week one, week two, I can't remember which one, right? It's you're sort of in that honeymoon phase. You're saying all the good stuff, and we got this googly eyes and all that stuff. Safe trip, Rosa. um but it's at some point, you can't just talk about all the good stuff. You have to talk about, these 16 bags I'm dragging behind me, and start unpacking them. Here's what's in those, right? And so you eventually have to get to that point, right?
Yep.
Because regardless, whether you willingly open those bags or something's going to force those bags open, right? But was I a willing partner in taking that in versus you just drop that on me, right? And so I look at someone who refuses to go to the doctor as, you know, you just dropped 9 bags on me and just like deal with it. you know, that's
yeah,
that's unfair. That's selfish, right? And so
like right.
yeah.
Like because if you're talking about building something with somebody and being a couple, you do want to know. You don't want to know. That's a valid point. I like that. You don't want to find out, oh gosh, the person has, 1 week left
Yeah.
and here it is, yeah.
Because I mean
Mm.
that's a financial burden. I mean, if you don't know and especially if you get to the point where I mean, God forbid you would marry that person, and now, I mean, in a sense, you might be financially tied to that unknown decision, and
Yep.
so that could wreak any havoc and plans that you had for your future. And like you said, we ain't spring chickens, right?
Right.
No, we ain't trying to work till we 80, 90 years old because, you know, at 50, we done picked up, someone else's debt that didn't tell me that they had, they getting ready to die, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, just being real with it. It's,
And, and then you have the flip side, y'all, where people are looking for a nurse wife.
mhm.
Like, you know, first exchange numbers, first conversation. I'm gonna get this out the way, Shawnee. January 2017, my life changed. I lost 3 toes. And this is where, God bless, I really need to pay attention because he he did not, I mean, so I went back to the profile to see if there was any indication that he was disabled,
Mhm.
right? And and I and I showed the profile to my girlfriend. And she says, "Shawty, look at the picture. Look, I didn't look at the man's feet. I, I, I saw two types of shoes, yes, but one shoe was higher than the other shoe. I just thought he was a bad dresser. Like seriously.
But
Like
you actually, oh gosh.
I can't make this is all for real. Y'all, these stories are true. And then so I was coming, I said and like really laid down. And then he said, but so I am disabled. I'm permanently disabled, but I get a check, and then proceeds to tell me how much the check is. And I said, whoa, do not do that. Do not. I became his dating coach because I knew that this we would never be anything. And I just
Mm-hmm.
be trying to help the people. I said, you can't tell people that.
Mm-mm.
But let me tell you why he's doing that though. I'm being 100% honest. I'm down with a coin, and I am because if somebody is, and we want to be clear, we're not saying anything against anybody, varying abilities, nothing at all,
Mm-mm.
negatively speaking, right? Um, but we just need to know because that may be a deal breaker for somebody. But if somebody does is suffering or challenged with a particular thing and they're getting a check for it, you want to know that. You want to know.
You do, but I mean, I agree with Shawnee. You shouldn't be like, I'm getting this, right? Because you're gonna have someone who's like, oh, I'm getting ready to
They
take
gonna
all
see
this.
that as yeah, they're gonna take advantage of that.
I
There's
get it, but
somebody
I
out
almost
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
don't know.
I understand, but I also want to know that's like people, somebody could be a disabled vet, right? You kind of want to know because I have vets in my family that's, are challenged with PTSD. You want to know these things, right?
Yes.
Yes,
And, and there was
but
a
not.
season
But
where I
I'm.
kept
I
getting
don't.
that.
I agree, but I don't think that is a necessarily a day one conversation.
I agree.
You know.
I agree with that. Now that part I do agree
Yeah.
with. But I mean, but I personally would like to know if whatever the challenge is, if it's accompanied by some coinage, because then that helps me that helps me know. But you all, full disclosure, you got to understand what I do for a living, right? I manage money for a living.
Yeah.
So, you know, so my brain thinks in the sense of how can we financially manage
Right.
X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
Because so yeah, so like for example, when people talk about deal breakers and they say, there's some people, oh, I want them to have perfect teeth. My thing is, why do I need perfect teeth? I got good health insurance.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So
But I mean, but so and I'm in the medical device industry, so
that's right.
uh, so yes, it's good from a budgetary standpoint to know that you have some coinage coming in, but you also have to know from a medical standpoint that most disease states extrapolate. And so, what it is today and the cost of this today, right? The cost of care and that coinage coming in, is it going to be the
And
same?
typically it does. From typically there's an
So,
adjustment.
so sometimes yes, sometimes no, right? It just always depends on the disease states.
Chris, get off my camera. I know what I'm talking about. This is what I do for a living.
And,
It
and, and,
does
and
it does adjust.
don't get me wrong. I mean, I make money off disease states, so that's my. I mean, we don't. They don't cure diseases. We just have treatments and stuff.
I
We,
understand, and we have tables and we project and do formulas for what it's going to cost in the future and all of that. But
I'm just,
I'm
I'm,
just
I'm,
saying.
I'm, I'm just saying, right? Today's right is not one the same, but I don't know. I think it's not way far down that tangent.
We did. So yeah, we're coming up on an hour. So we're talking about the next phase and choices. So it's a culmination, right? Um, how it's important to do the data collection and whether or not we're going to move on to the next phase with the person and being able to make that choice and that decision early on and not be a year, 2 years down the road, right? With somebody that's not the right person for us. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that person, but that coupling is not, you know, for where we want to be or where we want to go next.
Now, let me ask y'all this, because this is something I've heard a few different preachers, the way they've discussed this verse and preached on this verse and gave, right? So Proverbs 18:22, right? And so it's basically a man finds a wife, right? And so the question is, do you find a woman who's already a wife, or do you turn her into a wife? And so it's so a lot of pastors will say you find a wife, not a girlfriend, and turn her into a wife. And so, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't have no
Oh,
thoughts.
I was on mute. I was saying I was going to defer to Shawnee on that.
I I don't know. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I I am of the belief. Go ahead, throw your shoes, throw your stones. I feel like that she's already a wife. She has the gift, the talents, the skills, the capability, the capacity to be a wife, just like a mom or whatever. It's in her to be that. I don't think a man can make a woman a wife any more than a woman can make a man a husband.
I'm just going to be contrarian and say I don't think everybody is supposed to be married.
That's a different question, and I agree with
I
Paul did
you.
know.
say that.
Yeah.
Paul did say that.
I
So,
don't and I think we have when I say we, I think especially people in faith communities, especially Christian communities that subscribe to scripture in a way beholden to that the institution of marriage has just been I don't just I think people get into unsuccessful relationships because we've been told that we have to be married, that we
mm,
have to that we have to wait for our husband and we have to be married.
mm,
And I don't think everybody is mentally physically or spiritually equipped to be married.
mm,
But they're going out of here and coming out here and feeling like they're supposed to be. So they
mm,
put all this pressure into dating, into finding a husband, into all these things. And that's not what they really, and I think that they need to find themselves first.
mm,
Find your purpose before you find, I think it's important to find your purpose
mm,
before you find your partner. And I think God will align the right partner for you to execute the purpose. Now,
mm.
some people will argue that I didn't find my purpose until I found my spouse. I just don't believe that.
No, I mean, I don't either. I'm reading Darlene's comment. Curious, but I mean, I could say, like, for self, right? I really didn't understand marriage until I was going through my divorce. Um, and I think I have a different perspective today that I did. I was married almost 20 years. Um, I have a different perspective today than I had back then. So when a man looks for a wife, they want a woman that can just dot dot dot. I don't know. I mean, depending on what those dots are. So, um, but I think with life you learn, right? And so, are you open to learning and growing from that? And so, you know, as do everything for them. No, I was raised by a single mother. I cook, clean, all that. So, love to cook. Don't really like to clean, but got to get done.
He's
Um,
a good cook.
yeah.
He is a good cook. Yeah.
So, Darlene, let me tell you my belief, right? Man or woman, right? You shouldn't expect anyone to do something for you that if you by yourself that you are already gonna do. So that means cook, clean, pay your bills, everything else, right? So if you by yourself and you handling them things, you should not expect someone else to come in and take care of it for you. So,
Whoa.
but I don't know if everyone. I ain't gonna speak for all men. I speak for me. So,
Mic drop.
but
Oh boy.
but yes, I mean you do have to learn, you do have to adapt, and you do have to. I mean, hopefully with uh, people our age, you know, we've been through either long-term relationships or marriages, right? Hopefully we have picked up nuggets and grown, and you know don't want to have the same thing that we had before. Um, but it's how willing, or do you just want a relationship, or do you want a good relationship, right? Some people just want a warm body, right? Versus good relationship.
Or a partnership, right? Because
Yeah,
I don't think,
yeah, sort of whatever term you want to, but
yeah.
there's some people who they just need a warm body. It doesn't matter who that body is, they just
Mm,
need someone to feel whole, right? And my belief is that if you're not good by yourself, you're not going to be good with
right.
anybody else, right? So if you're looking for someone to fill your happy cup, you're in trouble, right? So if you're not already filled with joy,
Yes.
all you gonna do is bring someone down. When you ask a man if they want to marry, they say, "I want a woman that can do X,
Now
Y."
that's true. That is true.
I mean, like I said, I can't speak for all men, right? Just like y'all don't speak for all women, but
Right.
I
That's
mean,
been my experience is that a man can run down a list of what he wants,
yeah.
and out of the things that he says that he wants from the woman, nowhere on the list is what he's giving to her,
Hmm.
what he's looking forward to providing for her, or encouraging her, supporting her. None of that. He's
Hmm.
talking about he wants sex, he wants food, he wants, he wants these things. But I listen for, but what is he doing for her?
Hmm. But
And
I,
that I
I
mean,
had to,
but
yeah,
that's still in itself, right? If everything that comes out your mouth is I, then that's telling in itself, right? So if everything is my need, I mean, data collection, right?
yeah.
You just got to be able to cut them strings, see them for who they are, right? If they always speaking about what they need
or what they want.
or what they
So
want, then you already got your answer. So I don't know what you're waiting around for, you know.
so Shawnee, your expectations were here and now they moved up a little bit. Mine were
Well,
up here and now they down.
I mean, I, okay. Here's the thing. I am going to bring my full self to any situation.
Mhm.
So all I can expect in this whole dating journey is what I can bring.
Mhm.
I can't expect I don't know the people, right? I don't know what trauma they hold. I don't know what their intentions are until they reveal them. So I I'm I mean, I used to expect that what you say in your profile is true. That has not always been the case. I used to expect that you was raised right or halfway right or something.
Mhm.
That's not always been the case. I used to expect that you can put a subject verb agreement together.
Yeah. But you got to remember though, Shawnee, I mean, just to set the expectations and make it clear, right? I mean, that profile is no different than being in the honeymoon phase, right? I mean, no
Yes.
one's really, I mean, except for I think we talked about last week, the angry people who are yelling and saying, but I mean, but for majority of it, it's a selling point. Here's all my good things, right? So it's, no one's probably putting on there, that they got 12 kids, filed bankruptcy 12 times and, is currently going through it. They're not going to put that on their profile, right? So, I mean, it's, when you meet someone, right, it's, there's some kind of connection that made you want to, some spark a little interest, right? But I mean, that profile is a facade, right? It's, here's some good points about me, you know, but it's a few data points, right?
And
Not,
here's a picture of me when I graduated high school. You just don't know that
yeah,
this was back when I was 20 years old before I had 5 kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's just a starting point, no different than, you meeting someone at church, the grocery store, the gas station, anywhere else, right? There's something that, you know, boom, there's a little spark of interest right here, right? You still have to go through the work of, you know, finding out who they really are. That profile is just a facade. So don't get caught up on the profile because, I mean, it's a facade. They're not going to, put a bunch of bad stuff on there and be like, yeah, everyone gonna come date me because I got all this bad stuff on here,
Well,
So,
some people, some girls like bad boys, though.
yeah.
You know, right?
I mean,
And Darlene said, "Yeah, and
no,
110
no, I
pounds."
mean, I, I don't know if she missed it last week, but yes, I mean, or the week, I can't remember what week two, but yes, put a recent photo profile in full body shot, right? Was, so
And preferably without other people in it, please, because
definitely,
then people got to figure out which one is you, you know. And then
definitely.
shoot, somebody might be more interested in your friend
What's up, girl
than
in that red
you.
dress name over there? Where's she at? Yes.
I don't
Right.
want to talk to you, the one to
Oh,
your
okay. This is
right.
the time tuning in. I got you. Okay. So she didn't have the backdrop. Okay, I got you. Okay.
So, well, this wraps up our last episode. We went over, which is fine. This is the last one. I thought it was good. I enjoyed our
I thought it was
topics.
good.
Oh yeah.
If
Yes.
you
This was
if you
fun.
missed it, you can definitely scroll up on our Facebook pages and you can see the previous episode. This was a limited series only for um but hey, if you bombard Shawnee with comments and questions, she might reach back out and be like, "Okay, let's just do one more."
We should
Like
come back in February. We should have one
oh
in February
yeah,
because that's
for
like
Valentine's Day.
that's
Yeah.
that's yeah. We should have a special episode,
That's
and
like,
maybe we have found love by then. I don't know.
okay. Oh, you didn't hear that. I didn't mute myself. Yes. Okay. So let's do February. We'll do another one in February, but please, send us your comments, your questions, your ideas and stuff. I thought this was very good and timely for us to know we're not the only one. This
Absolutely,
midlife dating journey, my God, today is it is it is an experience.
amen.
Um it is an experience, but one we're not just surviving, but we're thriving in. And I think we
Yes,
talked about some things that would be very helpful for us. But yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. February we'll do a check-in and we're coming up on the holidays. So
Mm.
please, check on your strong friends, check on the folks that you think are okay because the holidays can be a little challenging
Mhm.
when you're single, but you want to be coupled, right? And you haven't met that person yet. So please look out for your friends, pray for folks, do things, friendsgiving, right?
Mm.
Do stuff with people and reach out. So y'all have an amazing time. This has been good for my soul. Chris and Shawnee, thank you.
Hey, take your date and go vote. Go do that.
Yeah,
Oh
You know,
my
come
God.
on now.
you know, come
Come
on.
on now.
You know,
Chris, you
take your
talking my language.
take your
Wait,
date
wait.
and go vote. You know,
That's
take,
right.
take them early
Yeah.
voting.
And Dr. Lisa, when you said when he didn't go to the doctor, and I was like, are you registered to vote? He said, I could not get to I couldn't call my Uber fast enough when he said vote. I, I I'm like, oh, you didn't read my profile. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
It's okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, and that's real. So
yes,
maybe you might meet somebody at the polls,
Right.
you know,
in the line. Get out there and vote.
yes,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Yes. Mail it in if you need to.
Got I got
Uh
no, I got my mail in right here. I'm taking it tomorrow.
Amen.
Yay. I voted on day one. I was there so early they thought I was one of the poll workers. I said no. I said nope. I just want to make sure I cast my vote. So yes, please get out and vote. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all and look forward to hearing the comments and the feedback.